Welcome to Opinion Havers, a movie podcast for trolls who are toll bridges. I'm Cody.
I'm Tyler.
There are three of these. There are three Hobbit movies.
Yes.
You know who didn't know that?
You? No. Who?
My wife.
My wife.
Bailey forgot that there were three of these. She hadn't seen it.
Yeah. This one?
Yeah.
one?
We were in the car today. She was like, I can't believe I never saw the third movie.
Yeah. The rated R extended edition.
The Hobbit. Battle of the Five Armies, right?
Yes.
Five Armies Battle?
Yep. Battle of the Five Armies.
It's a long one. I gotta tell you, Tyler, it has been 6 days since we watched this movie.
Yes, it has.
There's approximately 4 more days than I have to wait to talk about it.
Yep.
I went deep. I went deep into a hole about this. I did a lot of research. I validated a lot of the things you said in our previous 2 episodes on this series, and I learned more new things. It's been look, all these movies were fine. This one did something to me.
Wait. Are you saying you didn't believe me?
I did. I needed to see it. I needed to see it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I understand. I say outrageous things. Some of the time, I just make them up.
You were right. The whole thing.
Yeah.
All of it. The Peter Jackson coming in, him asking for more time, them not giving him any more time, him winging it.
Yeah.
All the whole time, all of it, through all of it.
The thing I want to know is how much of that battle scene was that just like random dudes swinging at each other they filmed because he came in. That's what they were filming it when he started.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, like, I saw a thing where they were like, he came in during pre-production. I'm like, he came in and they started filming the battle. I think they were farther than that indicates. Yeah. I think they were
it was like the script. There were a lot of times like the script wasn't quite finished and they were just like trying to scramble like to get the script done for that day, like for the next day's shooting. And I don't know, it's crazy. I learned more stuff too. I don't know. Probably not the time for it. Maybe do you want to go about your ranting and then we can get into some of the details?
Well, say do you have your rant all bullet pointed out like you normally do?
No.
No?
I mean, I have notes.
You have notes?
Yeah.
Thing is, it's been so long. You researched. You
want me to start?
Got consumed by work and forgot about watching.
You and your dumb job. There's
know.
More important things to talk about and to do.
I'm out there doing a vital service to the nation.
Hold up.
I'm out there running TCP reports.
Are you an essential worker?
I'm an essential. I have a letter that says I'm an essential worker.
I must bend the knee.
Exactly. Everybody's like, "Thank you to essential workers." I'm like, "Don't thank me. Don't do that."
Don't thank me. The paycheck is enough.
It's also like most of the stuff I did during this essential worker time period is dumb stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so what? Are you ceding your time to me?
I mean, I can go if you want me to go first. It's up to you.
How about on the count of 3, we'll each say who we think should go first. 1, 2, 3.
Bailey.
Cody.
Oh. Okay.
I should go. I'll go. I can do it.
You can do it. I believe in you.
I'll even time it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2. My timer wasn't ready. Go. So, this movie is garbage for one reason and one reason alone. Dad? Last movie, all we heard from Bard's children was da, da. They called after him, and they were so worried about him. And this movie, they called him Dad at least twice, and I was furious. I was so mad. You have no idea how mad I was. Furthermore, in other news of continuity terribleness, Remember how I was talking about earlier? Oh, Legolas, he never blinks unless he's surprised. And this movie, they were just like, blink whenever you want. Like they just gave up. I don't know if it's because they shot all this stuff first and then worked on the other stuff, and then we're like, wait, we gotta walk this. But remember the canon? I don't know. What, Dad? It's not that they said it once. They did it at least 2 times, and like that's their only lines. In this, like last movie, the children had some lines, and they did. This movie, the only things they said were "Dad," when their lines should have been "Da." They got an extra consonant in there, and I'm not happy about it. Other than that, it was fine. I don't know. It's a weird one. It starts. They kill the dragon. Good for them. And I don't like that. I don't like that the sun is the little tripod, third leg of the tripod for the arrow to go through. He's like, stand still, son. I'm going to shoot this. I don't know. It was just so... Whatever. His name's Bard. He has 3 children. They call him Da or Dad. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Here's what most impressed me about this movie is the head tilting. No one can tilt their head quite like Thorin, you know? Anytime you're looking for a little drama, we get a little angle on Richard Armitage, and he does a little head tilt, you know? That brings the drama. It's what we're here for. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Thorin's eyebrows disappear for like 40 minutes of this movie. He has like full thick eyebrows the whole time, and then like at one point they turn like thin, light, and like light brown for a while. I don't know. There's a troll that's a bridge. There's a troll whose job is to be a bridge. He's not under the bridge. He is the bridge. What? It's bending. It bends my mind. You know. It makes me think about things. All right. It makes me question everything. They use the line, "I'm getting too old for this," and that. If I've ever seen a script that wasn't written, that's one of them. You know. They were like, "What's a good thing to say?" I know. I'm getting too old. Like, yeah, that line is like what 35 years old at this point, and I'm still not over it. It's good. It's a good one. It still works. I don't know. There was just... The battle scene got to me. It got into my crevices. Like, just one part. There's different parts, but there's like a troll that's blind, that they have hooks in his eyes so they can steer him like a crazy whack-a-mole machine. And that just, it crossed the line for me. It went too far. It made me uncomfortable for 3 days. 3 whole days I couldn't sleep thinking about that thing. How'd they catch it? Who did that to him? Is that the best way to even do it? You know? It can't be. It can't. Look, okay, I've never caught a troll, gouged out its eyes, and gave it stumps for legs and little clubs for arms and swung it around wildly, but I don't think controlling it from the eyes would be the best way to do it. Right? I don't know. I guess that's not my place. They're professionals. I should cede to their expertise. So, I don't know. We all like Smaug. What's his deal? What's he about? I guess I just didn't understand his motivation. He was like, I'm gonna go burn this village, and I don't know, maybe I'll chit-chat with the guy who was about to shoot me from 50 feet away with a giant black arrow. I was like, I don't know, Smaug, shouldn't he be smarter? Shouldn't it be different? I don't know, whatever. Here's what I wanted. I wanted Smaug to stop, open his mouth, and then Benedict Cumberbatch walks down his mouth, you know, like he comes out of the dragon and it's like, all right, I'm done with that shirt. You know, like a Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to cut you off right there, Cody. Yeah. That fantastic rant you got going there. You know, it's a good time. It's a good time that you had. Are we? Oh goodness! My watch decided to go to 6 minutes instead of 5 minutes.
Well, how are you going to do that? That is illegal.
It wasn't me. It was the watch. The watch wants it. The watch wants more.
Control your wrist.
I'll have you know I'm going to start now. So if you could just.
All right.
Shush.
No.
Shush.
Okay.
Shush now. Go. Okay, Cody, here's the thing. It's a troll under the bridge. He's holding a ladder. Why didn't he just hold boards? I don't know. He's holding the ladder. He's not very stable. He's holding it a full 6 feet above where they have to get on it. Why didn't they just take that piece of wood and just go bloop across the chasm? Nobody knows, Cody. Why? Because this point, who is at the helm? I don't know. Probably Guillermo del Toro. And he's like, he did the same thing he did with Pacific Rim. Which is why I like this movie. Which was like, hey, wouldn't this be cool? And they're like, that doesn't make sense in the continuity of the universe you've built here. And he's like, there's no universe. This is Cool Town. Cool Town, USA. That's where Guillermo del Toro lives. He does 2 kinds of movies. He does cool for coolness sake, and he does Pan's Labyrinth, where it's supposedly the best movie in the world. I clicked on it once. It was all in Spanish. I thought I'd found the wrong movie. You informed me the entire movie is in Spanish. And not just Spanish, Spain Spanish. So it's very fast, very flowy, and very hard to understand. But that's not this movie. This movie, you have Ballin, who's very old, and delivers the best version of the I'm getting too old for this line. The best version of the getting too old for this line, because he is too old for this. But here's the thing, Cody, look at me in the eye, look me in the soul. Of all the people, he is the oldest. Of all the people to deliver that line, he's old. He's an old boy. He got a beard. They added so much to this film in the Five Armies version, in the extended edition, including aggressive gore. Very aggressive. You're talking about the dude with his eyes gouged out being led by the eyes, which your favorite dwarf rode several times. Then, here's a fun fact for you. He rode him, then he fell off of him, then he was back on him somehow, and then he was somewhere completely else without the dwarf. I want a whole movie based on his journey, this troll and this dwarf and their buddy cop adventures, okay? Legolas kills that troll. Legolas is in a very different spot of this battle. At all times, right? And somehow the troll, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, they added so much to this movie. That's not one of the things they added. What they add? They added things getting ripped apart by kneecappers. Several things getting their heads popped off. You know, like the Kingsmen, they were like, we can't do all this blood. That's too much. It's too much. The MPA says, nope, can't release this. It's too aggressive. It's going to get you that NC-17, which is not the best rating for a movie you want to release in theaters. So what they do, Cody, they made it like little fireworks. What did the Hobbit do? They were like, we're going to do that instead. We're just going to have the blood there. We're going to shoot for that R rating so that people will come see the movie and wonder why it's rated R. They take on 100 goblins. They're like goblin mercenaries, no more than 100. Which is a very... I believe... It felt like in that one scene they were trying to recover this feeling of... That's something Gimli and Legolas would say. Like, there's only 100 of them. You take the left, I take the right. Mm. They did it with Thorin and Dwalin, I think was the dwarf. Which I was like, you have not... I was like, how dare you stand where they stood? You have not earned this. Legolas and Gimli had a journey of friendship and earning that so that they could get to the final movie where they're counting their kills. They're doing it, well, they do it in all the movies, and they're competing. And Legolas is better and Gimli lies. That's how it goes. But what's important is the sword. How many times did Coda? Let me ask you a question. How many times is the sword consistent with its glowing? Let me answer that for you, Cody. 0. It is 0 consistent. He pulls it out, and it's like, okay, maybe it's only goblins that it glows for. Guess who's the mercenaries are? The mercenaries are goblins. Does it glow when the mercenary goblins are there? Once, yes. You know what also glows? Thorin's sword at one point, which is the only time it glows in the movie. And it's my same thing where it doesn't glow blue. it's like they put the glow effect, but not the blue.
All right, Tyler, I'm gonna cut you off right there. You're making. I feel bad cutting you off. You're making some great points. I remember seeing it shimmering. I'm like, is that glowing right now?
Is that when I said like, look at this, it's glowing?
It's like just a little bit glowing. You're like, it's supposed to be, and it's glowing certainly, but it's glowing like whitish silvery, but it's a silver blade. So I'm like, no, it's glowing now. Now it's glowing. I don't. Whatever. It is a little maddening, isn't it?
It is,
isn't it?
Yes. But I contend they're also inconsistent in the other movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I bet you they're not. I bet you we're going to be watching them, trying to catch them, and they're going to be very consistent.
I'm curious. I'm very curious to see.
Because, Cody, it's the whole process. Isn't like his sword was made to glow. His sword isn't like a famous sword. These other ones are famous. The one that Gandalf has and the one that Thorin has. They're famous swords.
His is like a little like war dagger, and he's just little. So it's like a fun sword for him.
His is like what the guy would have carried Orcrist, which is Thorin's sword. And they would have had like his thing right next to it, like a little dagger thing, like you said. That's what it is. It's a dagger. And they glow because of what they're made. The people who made them to glow. That was like any sword made by those people glows around these bad guys. That's a fact. That's just how it works.
So,
also, how dare you? No, I have nothing on the how dare you. I just wanted to cut you off.
Here's something.
Yes?
Remember Ironfoot?
Yes.
Okay, I forgot.
I love him. Why is he CG?
No, this is what I'm gonna bring. They took this really cool dude. He's like this boorish dwarf dude who rides a big old pig, right? He rides a boar. He himself is boorish. He's a great warrior. He's cousins to Thorin. And then they made him completely computer generated. And it was, I wanted to like him so bad because I'm a fan of the pigs in general, and I was like, a dwarf riding a pig, that's a good time, I'm into it. And then you see every time there's a good view of his face, I'm just like, this is why did they do, like, no other character CG except for like all the orcs and the goblins and stuff. And then they just made him all, so they're like, look what we can do. But then did you notice there was like one shot towards the end where he wasn't CG'd at all, and you're like, well, he looks good now. What was that about?
I don't know. I don't know. I was hoping you could answer the question. I'm trying to find the guy that plays him. Was the lighting
all terrible, and they're like, we better just regenerate him, or was the pig all generated, and so like anytime there was a middle or a wide shot where you could see the pig, he had to be CG? I don't know. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. First off, I mean, like, you could have done like what they did with Bjorn, who is like, that's what that guy looks like. They just CG'd him to make him. They did, instead of doing like the forced perspective stuff, they used CG to make him look big.
Which guy?
The bear. Bayon.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the guy's face and like him. That's why he just kind of looks like a dude, because it's just him. But I'm trying to find the guy that plays Dine, because I want to see Billy Connolly.
Yeah.
Billy Connolly. He's the guy who, fun fact, voices Fergus in Brave. Isn't that fun?
Well. Oh. Yeah.
Now, who is that, Cody? That's what I want to know.
Probably one of the redheads.
Probably, yeah. The thing is, I'm looking at him. They don't have pictures of him. They just have pictures of movies he's in. But, like, I totally could believe them just making him look with makeup like a dwarf. So it's like, were they like, it's like
Billy Connolly.
Yeah.
I know you already said that, but why would they do him like that? He's like has a small part in everything. Like, he's been in so many things.
It's also like they didn't CG him to look completely different. That's what his face looks like.
I know. That one was maddening. I was like, he looks.
I have a suspicion.
What is it?
So they filmed all these movies at once, right? So they did 9 weeks of shooting where they shot all the movies. Okay? That's what it says. Which sounds like it's a long time, but it's also like, it's on location shooting. So I'm sure there was set shots.
Yeah.
But like him being there would have been probably like an on location shoot when they were at where the battlefield was and they did it there. So it's almost like they're like, all right, Peter. Then it's like the writers and everything were like, all right. Then the Iron Foot, the guy, the army from the Iron Mountains, they come over the hill, and they come into the thing, and they charge the Elven ranks. And he's like, hold up now. I'm not seeing dying anywhere. Do you not realize he's the king he becomes the king. He's the leader. He's the guy. Everybody loves this guy. What? I'm not seeing who's him. And they're like, who are you talking about? And then so he scrambled to just find the closest guy that could play him. And then they're like, just
CG'd over him later.
Just stand over there and talk like a dwarf. And that's what it is. That's what I think happened, because there's no way that because I mean, like, the orcs, there's so many orcs that are CG'd because, it seems like they just didn't want to put in the time, or they didn't have the time to put in to make like Azog a practical.
It was awful to watch. And I was like, I want to like this character so much, but he looks so terrible because he's fully computer generated.
Yeah.
They reached so far and hard for some of the CG stuff they were going.
Well, it's like Azog CG, but he looks good.
He looks better with each movie. Like the first movie, he looks out of place. The second movie, he looks pretty good. This one, he looked good in this movie.
Yeah,
by the time they got here.
I don't like that he's CG because he looks better than the guys with prosthetics around him. Like they put guys that are just in costume next to him that I like. He looks like an orc, and you can't tell that he's wearing anything.
Yeah,
that's what bothers me more than anything about him. That he looks better than them. But Dine does not look good. He looks like they didn't do his skin.
He really. Oh yeah. No.
But like the scene, I think it's actually in the second movie when like Bolg comes through, and Azog's like facing down Bolg's warg, like, try something, I dare you. Like that kind of face, and it's like super zoomed on his face. I was like, man, they are getting really good with this CG face stuff.
Yeah.
But I still think some of it would have been. I think the movie overall would have been better had they been just because the guy that plays him is huge. He's like a big wrestler who for some reason I want to say he's like a Mexican, like luchador or something like that. But he's a wrestler dude, and he's huge. You could have just put face prosthetics and then a bunch of white paint, and he would have looked. But anyway, I was like,
it turned so.
I was like, you go from... It's worse, you go from Azog to him. You go from Azog and the dragon, who both look really good, to...
Yeah.
Where it looks like we're in the Matrix. Where it looks like the Matrix CG.
Yeah. Where you're like, oh, we stepped 20 years back in time on this one a little bit.
Why? Why, Cody?
I can't tell you why. I... Remember... Okay, there was... Galadriel said some stuff that I have question marks about.
Yeah.
And what did they say about Gandalf? She said something like, he breaks long and hard. And I was like, what?
No, that was Thranduil.
What'd she say about him?
She didn't say that. So that was when Gandalf showed up at the war thing. And Thranduil was like, they come in fast, breaking hard like a storm on a
like
breaking
long and hard, though. And I was like, what is this energy?
I bet you it's in the quotes. I'll find it.
Please do.
But yeah, that was Thranduil saying something weird, which is from, I can't remember who says it, but I know it is said. I think I know. I think who says it is actually... I
thought it was someone in that scene.
No.
Okay.
But who said... I'm talking about in the books, like, because a lot of the lines is stolen from the books. But I'm pretty sure the person who actually says it in the books is... Boromir's father, whatever his name.
No, Boromir's father.
Yeah.
Oh, I forget his name.
It's like his father in like a flashback in the second Lord of the Rings trilogy book. So it's like, I was like, that's a cool line to just, because that's how he describes Gandalf. I'm like, that's cool that you stole it, but I'm like, I'm like, Peter Jackson, you're such a freaking nerd.
Yeah.
They just rearrange these lines and it still sounds perfectly fine. All right, I'm gonna find it. You keep going.
I don't know. Okay. There's a man in this movie. He's from the last movie. What's his name? The rat man. Who's the little sneaky dude who's like the bad guy?
Oh, Alfred?
Alfred. Just the worst the whole time. Couple things about this man. Number one, in the beginning, remember when the mob takes him and they're about to do some justice to him and like rip him to pieces or take him to the hanging station or something? Remember that? They're like, they were gonna get him, a little mob justice, and then Bart is like, nah, let him go, it's fine. I was very upset because I was ready for it. I was like, yeah, tear this man to pieces. I'm done with him. I'm over it. They let him go, and then he proceeds to be the absolute worst the entire time. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me so upset.
Yeah, his is an annoying arc that I'm sad that he gets his comeuppance only in the extended.
That's the thing. Okay, so there's a moment where you're like, oh, maybe he's going to become good now, and he's kind of helping some people and whatever, but then he can't help but still be terrible. Then he tries to run away in ladies' clothes, and then the coins spill out of his lady's outfit that he has. He's created bosoms of gold for himself. Then the coin slips out. He's on a catapult, and then it catapults him.
Because he's hiding in the basket of the catapult.
Catapults him into the mouth of a large troll. The troll immediately dies.
It chokes on him.
He gets choked to death in the mouth of a troll. Some of the deaths in this movie were just...
Okay. They just did that to be like... That was an afterthought for sure, right?
Why try to redeem him even a little bit and then be like, he's still terrible. Let's shove him in the throat of a troll.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just crazy. I couldn't believe they went there. And like, I don't know. Maybe my problem with the movie, the trilogy is like, they try to do the cartoony thing because The Hobbit is more of a kid's kind of book, a fantasy book.
Yeah.
Except then they're like choking people with trolls to death and putting things in people's eyes and then like lobbing off the heads of dwarves with... You're like, this is so gruesome and cartoony at the same time. And it's upsetting. It's an upsetting thing to watch.
Yes.
Thank you.
I agree with you. Yes.
What a way to kill someone. They were like, what's the most ridiculous thing we could do? Catapult him into the... like point blank into the throat of a troll. You might know that. Oh, he also says, abandon the cripples.
Yeah.
Abandon the cripples.
He's like shoving old ladies out of his way. Abandon the cripples.
I mean, you can't write this stuff. You can only improvise it same day, you know? Like, you got to.
Oh, yeah. It's very good. I like that one. Abandon the cripples. He's so ridiculous and just obviously a scumbag that it's like, it's annoying that he's there, but he never does any real damage.
It's also like, okay, it's the same as Wormtongue in the original. He was supposed to be like the Wormtongue of this trilogy, you know, pops up in the second movie, whatever. But then Wormtongue just goes away. And then even this guy, it's like, they could have made him like maybe a little bit handsome and then he's kind of a swindler but skeezy. And instead they're like, let's make him look as disgusting as possible. Let's give him really gross, like a big old unibrow and really yellow teeth and like greasy hair. He looks terrible and he is. You're like, I don't know. There's no reason for me to like him. And then you pretend like you're going to kill him in the beginning. You don't. And then you do kill him in the worst way in the extended. I don't know. It's like, I didn't even want him there. I didn't want him at the table partaking with us in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
You find that quote yet? Because I got things to talk about.
There is so much that it has shown me that is not what I'm trying to find.
That's okay.
It's really rough.
You might know this. How many of the dwarves die in the books? In the Hobbit book? Because in this one, they kill off like 3 of them?
I think those 3.
Those 3 do.
Yeah.
It was hard to...
But they die off screen, which is, off screen is in like... Because here, Bilbo gets knocked out, and in the book, it's all told. That's when you realize like everything is from Bilbo's perspective. It never cuts away from Bilbo, so like he gets knocked out, and then it's like, and then he wakes up, and the battle's over.
Yeah, and then in this one, instead they're like, let's make a 2.5-hour movie about the battle.
Yeah,
where like Bilbo should have been knocked out for an hour and a half of this movie.
Yeah,
yeah,
because he wakes up.
But I understand that's not like satisfying for us as an audience, but also if the whole trilogy was told from his perspective and they made it just like 2 movies, it could have been a lot better. Especially if they got someone great like Martin Freeman to play him. They had so much else going on the whole time that it was like, it's not The Hobbit anymore. It's like a fantasy story loosely, not even loosely based, because like they cover everything in The Hobbit. It's just... They have to do it in so much detail and then adding other stuff and filling in all the gaps they created. I don't know.
Yeah. I would say most of what they've added, really, like, the easiest way to sum it up, really, is if Bilbo's there, they didn't add that part. If he's not there, then they added it.
Yeah. Because
I think there's a couple times where it's like him telling, but it's still... Because it's all supposed to be a book he wrote. So it's like there's some stuff where he'll say this happened, but it'll be like they told him about this later at the time. So like I think they talk about, but he just like references like when he falls down, it's all about like him falling down the goblin tunnels and Gollum, and then when he meets back up with them, then they fill him in on what they were up to.
Yeah.
So like all of that part wouldn't be in the movie really based on it unless it was like a... Can I tell you a hot take that I think would be...
Yeah.
Oh, so this movie, or the book, I feel like has so much like, let me catch you up. Let me fill you in on what happened when we separated. Mm-hmm. Someone who I think would be... I could see it being good if you had someone like Peter Jackson as like a producer there to oversee it, but have like someone like Guy Ritchie direct it, where he does... Because he's really good at doing the flashbacks that sum everything up really fast.
Yeah.
Without having to go through all the story.
A Guy Ritchie Hobbit would be interesting.
Or at least have him direct like the flashbacks. Have him be like assistant.
Yeah, as an assistant or second unit director or something. Yeah.
But Andy Serkis is very good as a second unit
director. Yeah, he is.
He's a good boy.
We like Andy Serkis.
He's Gollum. And also the monkeys from the
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
The new ones.
Yep.
So I got something to share with you, Tyler. I have gone through my notes from when I watched the movie.
I found the quote.
And tell me.
Okay. So it's Thranduil talking to Bard. Says, I could see you know nothing of wizards. They're like a winter thunder on a wild wind, rolling in from a distance, breaking hard in alarm, but sometimes a storm is just a storm.
Interesting. See, that's a beautiful line. I like when they say long and hard instead.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready to hear some fun facts, or you got somewhere you got to get off your chest? I don't want to monopolize the time.
I got no more, really. We're at 30 minutes, Cody.
Yikers.
But we're talk about this for 3.5 hours.
Extended. How about we release an extended edition of this podcast that is 3 hours long, and there's 3 episodes. Yeah. 3-hour episodes.
Exactly.
Okay, number 1. James Nesbitt. He plays Beaufort, otherwise known as Hat Boy. Hat Boy. Here's the fun fact I didn't want to learn about
His name's
Beaufort.
Nesbitt?
James Nesbitt.
So his wife would be Mrs. Nesbitt?
Yes.
Okay.
Of Toy Story fame.
Yes.
First off, I learned the fun fact. I did not want to know this. His hat never comes off in the movie.
Yes.
Hate that. I hate that I know that now. I hate that I know that because I hate that hat.
It's the best.
Number 2, the 2 daughters that don't know whether to say da or dad, those are his daughters. His children are in this movie, and they're Bard's children.
Whose children?
Bard's 2 daughters are in real life James Nesbitt's daughters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're playing the daughters of Barge the Bard Bowman.
Barge
Bowman Barge.
Yeah.
What?
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Didn't you want to know that? Also, I already shared you the Legolas. That made me so mad when I read that. I was like, what? He just blinking all? I didn't even notice that. I
have a thing that I said during the movie that I could replace your Legolas thing with.
What?
I think the reason that Bard is a bargeman in the movie is because somebody... Originally, whoever wrote his part to begin with misread the book where they referred to him as a bowman and thought he was a bargeman. And then they were like, but he's a bowman. So he's Bard the Bargeman Bowman. Mm-hmm. With probably some dumb last name.
Here's the other thing. This is the only movie in Peter Jackson's Middle-earth series to not even temporarily, hold a spot in the IMDb top 250. All the other ones, I mean, the original, the Lord of the Rings, are still like in the top 50.
Oh yeah.
And the Hobbit movies were at one point. I don't know if they still are, but this one didn't even crack the top 250 ever.
How do you feel about this one versus the other ones? Because of that note there.
I think the second one was probably the best one. The best scene was probably, that I liked the most, was probably the Smeagol stuff, the first one. It's like the second half of the first one's pretty good, I think, maybe. A lot of the second one was decent. This one, it was icky. It was a little bit icky, I want to be honest.
Really?
There were parts of it that were good, I guess. I kind of like the the Thorin fight scene on the ice was kind of good. Mm-hmm. Legolas is a little ridiculous, but kind of fun to watch in this one.
Yeah.
It was just, all the orc stuff was too good. The eye gouging and the swim and the head cutting off and the choking. Well, I know that's extended edition stuff.
Yeah, and that's them going for the R rating.
In my research, it was like, oh yeah, these extended ones are probably closer to Peter Jackson's vision. I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know about all those, but I don't know. So it's just like...
I mean, I'm pretty sure like all the extended Lord of the Rings ones, they're all unrated, I think. Or maybe they're PG-13. No, because they got theater releases, so they're PG-13.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had to tone it down a lot.
There was too much of that in this. It was just like big, gross battle. And like, I love the battle and the fighting in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They kept it so practical and grounded, which is what I'm all about. And then in this one, it was so cartoony. But then when you add it, we're like, oh, we can do an R rating? Yeah, let's go for it. I was like, you can't mix the cartoony with just the egregious, like, head-splitting black orc blood flying everywhere. I was like, I can't do it. It's gross.
I think this one's the most rewatchable one, personally. I think the first one's probably, like, the best film. But that's, I think, because it had the most, like, that was, like, probably the last stuff they filmed. So he had the most control over all of that and where it went. Mm-hmm. But I think this is like the most shut your brain off and watch it Transformers type movie.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. That makes sense. Because I mean, the other ones, it's kind of like, where are we going? What are we doing? How are we going to split this in 3 movies? At this point, you're like, oh, we're going to do the big battle, then the movie will be over. You know? Yeah. Okay, I had to share this fun fact with you because it's the silliest thing I've ever read in an IMDb fun fact. During Bard's speech to the people of Laketown, after they reach dry land, the 4th wall is broken by a Siberian husky, as it looks directly at the camera during a widescreen shot, though it was highly unlikely the husky's gaze was intentional. What? I want to rewatch it just to see that, but also, who here... That dog broke... I'm not saying... Look, you can get a dog to look at a camera, right? You have a dog trainer behind the camera, he whistles to the dog looks, whatever. No one... It's highly unlikely the husky's get... Like, yeah, no one told that dog to look at. He's a dog. I don't even think I noticed the husky. I noticed a different dog, though, because I think there's like a pug at one point, and it's actually Peter Jackson's dog. Yeah. That's another fun fact I learned, but... I just love that. So it's highly unlikely the husky's gaze was intentional. Like you idiot. How are you doing this to me?
It's funny that's one of your fun facts because it bugs me so much because, you know, it's like when people die, it's like you're looking directly at them in movies. They're always like, you go from looking at the character to you're supposed to look like just to the side of the camera or something. So it's like you're looking past the camera. Yeah. When Thorin dies, he looks directly into that camera lens. He looks into your soul. And I'm like, dude, you are supposed to be looking like 3 inches to one side of this.
It's the problem because he's always doing that little head tilt look right at Bilbo, and I think he just went right for he did it. They let him do it one too many times, and it just locked in. Yeah. Other fun fact, Orlando Bloom is the only major elf actor who isn't in a Marvel movie. Hugo Weaving is the Red Skull in Captain America. Yeah. Liv Tyler was Betty Ross in The Incredible Hulk. Lee Pace is Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy. Evangeline Lilly is in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Kate Blanchett is in Thor Ragnarok. He's the only one that's not in a Marvel movie. There's also tying because like a lot of them are in X-Men because you've got Ian McKellen and Christopher Lee. Yeah. And then
is Christopher Lee in X-Men?
Oh wait, maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Who else is in I forget, but there's one other tie-in. The other thing, there's 3 Sherlock Holmeses in this movie. Benedict Cumberbatch is in Sherlock. Christopher Lee was Holmes back in like the 90s. He was in a few movies. That, yeah. And then Ian McKellen was retired Sherlock Holmes in the movie Mr. Holmes.
Yeah.
Martin Freeman, of course, is in Sherlock. And Stephen Fry was in Guy Ritchie's Sherlock as Mycroft. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But I mean, that always happens with British actors. They're like little kissing cousins, you know?
Yeah. There's only like 4 of them.
Yeah. Those are my fun facts. The best one, obviously, was about the husky. You wanted to know that.
I did.
A dog looked at the camera at one point.
Oh, that's so good. I have a couple of questions to ask you.
Hit me.
So, do you remember watching the non-extended release of this?
I saw the number 2 and number 3 in the theater, and the first one I saw at home somewhere.
Okay.
Because I was gone when it came out.
Because if you remember, I'm pretty sure in the non-extended release, the dwarves are charging the elves. The elves do their little volley of arrows, and then dwarves put up their shields or something. Some of them go down, and then they just keep going.
Oh, that's part of the extended thing?
I'm pretty sure it's extended. In this one, they let loose a device that I'm pretty sure is referenced in books and stuff, because that's like dwarves are all about, like making little like things to solve problems, whether it be in battle or in life.
Yeah.
So Cody, tell the people what's their solution.
You fire a giant volley of elf arrows, right, at a big arc because it's far away.
Right. So
the dwarves fire a giant, even gianter arrow with a spinny thing perpendicular to where the arrows are going, so it knocks all the arrows down and makes like a big javelin arrow right into the elves.
Yeah, and it's still spinning when it hits the ground.
Yeah, it does some damage and it blocks a bunch of arrows. I was like, that was one of the best parts of this, watching the extended edition, for sure.
None of the arrow volleys hit the dwarves. And it's funny because you can tell that it's added for the extended, because it just cuts these huge gouges out of the elf army. And then when it cuts back to like, oh, this is part of the regular movie, the non-extended release movie, then it's like those gouges, those people are still there. Because it's like that many of those giant things, it was like most of the elves would have been dead.
Well, because it doesn't even make sense when you think about it, because moments later the elves are like, all right, we'll fight alongside the dwarves just to fight the orcs, because they jump over the dwarves and do that whole thing.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you had just killed half the elves, they probably might not.
No, because they have, I mean, even in the books where it's like, oh, they fought and killed each other, but I think he said there's a line or something in the book where it's like, dwarves and elves, those dwarves and those elves hated each other, but they hated orcs so much more. I mean, it's like, that's like a common thread through it, where it's like, they're running from goblins in the book, but it's like, it really doesn't matter what you've done to the people. Because they may hate you, but they hate the goblins.
It is kind of funny that it's like, oh, they're races, right? The elves are a race, dwarves are a race, humans, orcs, goblins, whatever. But, like, none of that quite translates to our world. You know, like, there's no two races that are like, well, that's the evil race. Like, you know, like, that's the one that everybody hates. And if there was a war, I mean, maybe Nazis, I don't know, but that's also not a race, you know, but it's like maybe at one point in history when there were the Nazis and everyone was versus Germany, I don't know. But it's just like, that doesn't really exist today. Like, this is permanently and always the evil race.
Yeah.
They're real gross. Like, everyone hates them.
It's like the mole people. If the mole people invaded, I bet you most racism would go out the window in favor of, let's hate the mole people. All right? That's really what it is.
To any of our mole people listeners, I'm sorry, but it's true. It is.
Yeah.
You have to admit it. Just be glad we're in peace times and we don't know where your major cities are.
But
man,
I like it so much, all the little gadgets that they've got.
Yeah, that part was fun. I mean, if Ironfoot wasn't CG, I would be like, well, the dwarves were a great part of this movie, you know.
Yeah, I still like I like all of his lines, and I like how he is.
Me too.
Don't like how his face is CG.
He just looks terrible. He sounds great. He's written actually pretty well.
Yeah, and he's like headbutting everything, which is really funny.
Big, heavy things around. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
But it really feels like he's CG. Everything he does is CG, and there's like so much impact to all the practical things happening around him. So, and he's like a fully CG character swinging his CG hammer into a CG orc next to two real actors that are pretending like they're killing each other.
Yeah,
It loses. It's like Well, that guy just looked like he got half his body cut off.
He's like a cartoon in the middle of a real battle.
He looks like he's made out of Nerf. That's what for some reason, I always think about. He's the Nerf dwarf.
Yeah.
But I do like it. I like when they do their little thing. They turn to face the orcs, and they put their shields up, and you think the elves aren't going to help, and then they jump over the line and start slashing, which I'm like, you've just totally, like, their line was like break against this wall of shields, and you just jumped over it and ruined that whole thing.
Yeah.
But it looks cool.
Well, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the elf theme playing when they do it, too.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's so good.
Speaking of elves, Orlando Bloom's out here running on bricks. That was when I was done in the theater. I was like, I'm done. I mean, I know he's super light, and so but he's running on bricks, and I'm like, that are falling. You know, like the bricks are falling, and then he's running up the bricks as he goes. I'm like, it doesn't quite. Also, this is the only movie where they show him reaching and like not having arrows. I guess
you can also tell that his suit's really tight because he can't quite actually reach back as smoothly as he's supposed to be able to.
Yeah.
There is something about the sound that it makes, though, when he's like all his stuff jingling. Then I'm like, just give me a 10-hour track of that sound. I'm going to fall asleep to it. I like that a lot.
Yeah. The Tariel thing, I've heard that was a big thing Peter Jackson wasn't really worried about, and the studio was like, nope, we gotta... Like, he really liked Tariel, or Evangeline Lilly, so he was like, I'll give you a role if I ever do more, like, Lord of the Rings stuff. So they wrote the character for her. He wasn't super into the love story, but the studio was like, no, you really gotta push that love story in there. And it's like, that was the thing he didn't really want.
Yeah.
They put in.
Well, it's like anything. It's so much other stuff where they're like, I think the studio felt like they needed to add things that are present in Lord of the Rings. Like, in Lord of the Rings, there is a love story with Aragorn and what's her face?
Éowyn?
No.
There's Éowyn, then there's Arwen. Which is so... How are you going to have two love interests with almost the same name?
One starts with an E, one starts with an A, I'll have you know.
I know. I'm just saying. It's like that, you know?
It is also interesting that, you know...
That would be like... Funny. That would be like, I can't tell if I like Chris or Christian. You're like, stop. Get out of here.
Yeah. But everybody always says Éowyn's like a love interest, but it's more like... you know, when there's like you know, when you're older and there's like just a little, it's like if you're 30 and there's like a 14-year-old that's like, she's crushing on you, and you're like, obviously, they're like, are you saying this could never happen? And you're like, yes, I'm saying this could, what do you mean? You know, like,
yeah.
You're like, what do you mean? Yeah, yes, you're tiny, and no, and there's her who's I'm with this one.
I remember like never. I am curious to see how that love story goes because I haven't watched it in so long. As a kid, I was always like, yeah, I don't care about this part, but I wonder what it'll be like watching it now as an old man.
Yeah. See, age doesn't mean anything to those dwarves and elves because she's so old. They
live forever.
Ancient, and that dwarf, he's a young buck. He's a young boy, but that just means he's in his prime, you know. Oh yeah. He's got all the energy for days. He can do all of the stuff, the activities.
Oh yeah.
Like going shopping and.
It is funny that love story doesn't quite add up too, because it's like, okay, he's king of the elves, she's like a lower, he's like a gray elf, a high elf, she's like a lower like wood or red elf, whatever we would call him. I forget how it goes. And then like, why does he even care? He's like, Orlando Bloom, you can't, Legolas, you can't get with her, she's a little low elf. And then he's like, you can't love the dwarf, you're an elf. And then at the end he's like, nah, it was real. And you're like, why do you even care?
Well,
why do you even care?
So I looked this up because I wanted to verify it. So
I will remind you, Tariel is a made-up character for this movie. Continue.
Yes, but so she says that she's a Sylvan elf. Okay. But I looked up Thranduil's, who I looked up because he is in all the books, and him and Legolas are real characters, right? So they're Sindar elves, is what they're descendants from them, right? Okay. Which basically means. Here's what happened, Cody. Back in the olden days, right? The elves...
Just when I thought we could wrap up, here we go.
All the elves is real quick. All the elves, right? They were there. And then they were like, oh, the gods over here, they were like, come on over here, elves, and have fun with us. And then the elves are like, cool, we're going to head that way. And then some of the elves said... We're going to take a nap real quick, and then the boats left without those elves, except for the elves that stayed behind to build the boats, but then they left eventually, and then years later, the other elves came back, And those are the Sindar, I think is what they called them. I don't know. There's a bunch of different names, but there's basically the elves that left for a while and then came back, and they're like super snooty. And they've got like, they're more everything. They're like, they did all the fancy swords and all the fanciness, and they're the ones that fought Morgoth and all that. And then there's, the elves that stayed, which are just the Sylvan, the woodland elves. So,
like the hillbillies of the elves.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So they're all supposed to eventually go back over there and do the thing, but these ones didn't go and then come back, so they're worse somehow.
Oh. Okay. All right.
So that's a racist thing, basically. There's the different races, and then there's within the races
there's classes within the races.
And then so Thranduil's racist.
So it's like
against other elves.
Interesting.
But it would be like, it is like he doesn't want them mingling because it's like
they haven't been to the cool place and back. They've just been lying.
To be fair, Thranduil didn't go to the cool place. His dad went to the cool place.
Yeah, but still, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So, like, basically, Thranduil's dad has a house in Martha's Vineyard.
Thranduil's dad is dead.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He died. He got killed, but then he became king. So, so Thranduil's got a house in Martha's Vineyard that he's heard about, probably. I don't know,
Yeah. So he's a big deal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But that's why I looked into, because I was like, okay, so they're different races of elves is what they are.
Right.
But then there's elves that just never left. And I don't think they care.
Yeah.
Because they're in heaven, basically.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad it's over. I'm ready for a new one. I'm ready for a whole new trilogy. I'm ready.
I want a HBO show directed by Peter Jackson all about the Silmarillion. Let's get in there. Let's show Shelob's mother, whose name is Ungoliant, and filled an entire valley because she was so big after she ate the Silmarils. Maybe, I don't know. She ate something, but then she just kept eating things, and then they killed her. I don't know. It gets real deep in there.
Amazon's working on that one. I did say, like, Peter Jackson was like, I'm done, and then he was like, actually, no. If I would do more Lord of the Rings stuff. It's so near and dear to my little Kiwi heart,
Yeah, I think he always because he was like, I'm not happy with the Hobbit movies. But I think at any point you could be like, if you tell him he has control over it from the beginning.
He could do it his way and take the time to do it.
Then he'd probably do it. Now, I think if you're like, hey, by the way, Guillermo del Toro wrote another movie about Bale. Do you want to come? He might say no to that. He might be like, you're on your own. Why don't you call D.B. Weiss or something? Have him try to wrap it up.
Yeah.
When your first name is D.B.?
Yeah. Rough times.
Yeah. But Cody, it's good times, though. It's times for rejoicing. It's times for dancing naked around the fire. Because you know what we're watching next after this one?
Uh-huh.
Cody. We're watching Fellowship of the Ring.
Fellowship of the Ring.
It's on 2 Blu-rays.
I'm so excited. One Blu-ray. I hate movies on 1 Blu-ray. I hate them. And I'm so glad that we're going to watch one on 2 Blu-rays.
2 Blu-rays.
That was great.
It's a good time.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be so good.
Also, I just want to point out, we did not do this because Ian Holm died, right?
Right.
Here's the thing. I didn't release any of these yet.
Oh, gosh. Oh, no.
I got a nice little spiel written for the first episode about it. So don't worry. I covered our track.
Yeah, he died between the recording of us doing episode 2 and this one, right?
Yeah, he did.
Between those 2.
Yeah,
it was very sad. He was a good boy.
Yeah, pour out some grog. What's the thing they call it?
They drink the good stuff. Light up some old Toby and pour out some wine. He had lots of
brandy, whatever. So, yeah. Thanks for listening. Share us if you want. If you don't, I'd be fine with that too.
Give us those ratings. Share us with all your friends.
It's called Opinion Havers.
Say that your friendship depends on them listening and giving us a 5-star rating.
And you can also tweet me at Opinion Havers.
Not at Opinion Havers.
Opinion Havers. You won't regret it. You might. But you might not. Till next time. Watch movies.
And have opinions.
Bendy's getting in there.
Bendy.
Cut her hair all short and she's not sure about it.